So what is in a name? Well, I'm standing outside a 40,000 square foot makerspace in the greater Boston area known as Artisan's Asylum. And I feel like that is so descriptive that we should just go in and see what's going on. Come on.
So one of the super cool things about the place is we're here in Somerville, Massachusetts, home of our local chopper gang, Skull. SCUL, and these are their starships.
Oh.
Every Saturday, they head out and defend our corner of the galaxy from Borden with funk pumping and lights flashing.
Oh.
These may have been some number of bicycles in a past life, I couldn't say.
Yeah.
But the pilots that go out as the superhero versions of themselves to collect high fives and see how many solo cups they can run over.
That's the best. Look at this.
They track everything meticulously. So if you go to skull.org, you can see all the statistics on how many of everything happened. So these are the kind of the cruisers. This is one of the pilots, Sewer.
Howdy.
How you doing?
A pleasure. Nice to meet you.
I won't give away his real identity. This is Radmax.
Hello.
Hey, Brad. Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You want to tell us about some of the other more interesting?
Can we come in?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. So, as I said, we're super lucky to have Skull here. They've been doing this for over 21 years.
Wow.
And we're super psyched to share our space with them because not only do they bring an amazing fleet of Starcraft, but they also have a shared board of tools, and this is where our bike maintenance and bicycle repair classes kind of take place. So beyond the energy, you guys want to talk about some of the ships?
Sure.
What is this?
Yeah.
So this right here is Spitfire. I went into my personal frame rack one day, and because I was just kicking around, I wanted to build something. So I looked up and I said, I'm going to take all the red ones down. I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. So I spent a couple hours just rearranging some things like that and
these
figure
are
out
old
how to
steel
get it
frames?
Yep.
Do I count 3 of them within this?
3 so far.
3 so far.
But yeah, most of our frames just come from dumpsters, come from people donating old bikes, things like that.
Yeah.
So actually I found out that by accident that the top frame of this actually used to belong to a guy who runs a bike shop down the street. I wasn't sure if he was too happy with what I did to it, but but yeah, so we just pretty much everything we use we find or is donated. So like I said, I just found a couple just kicking around, put them all together.
I love the kick plate.
Yeah, we found just a big scrap of aluminum in the scrap bin one day and decided to bolt it on. I like it a little bit better than some of the pegs we use because on this I can actually get both feet on and I can surf down big hills.
So
but,
I've always wanted to make a bike, one of the tall frame-on-frame bikes. How hard is it to get off of it if something's going sour?
It's not incredibly difficult, I find. With anything, it takes practice.
Sure.
I've been commuting around Boston on one of these for the past 3 years, so for me now it's fairly easy. And if anything, once you're up there, you kind of learn to plan your stops like a block before you get to it.
I see.
So honestly, you don't even have to that often.
Right.
The other thing is that you can feel much more when you're tilting.
Right.
So
the farther below you your center of gravity is.
Yeah, so you can actually feel a lot sooner when you're gonna fall over.
All right, tell me about this monster.
This is called the Rad Rig after my name, Rad Max. Is eventually going to be turned into like a Mad Max style apocalyptic monstrosity, which I haven't added all the decorations yet. I love how it's turning out, and it's kind of a work in progress. This is like one of my favorite ships that I've built, admittedly only out of 3, but like
I can tell you're already adding the ability to haul things.
Oh yeah, no,
like this is going to be a working bike.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
And
I really appreciate that. Do you carry a toolkit on it as well? Do you have a
not right now, but like I feel like if I was going a longer distance, I would definitely carry a toolkit.
Yeah.
Also, when Skull's riding, I often carry the repair bag because as we're riding as a group, we need a repair bag and a flat bag and like a medical bag, just in case any like unfortunate situations happen, which occasionally they do. And so I usually carry one of the bags back there.
It looks great.
Thank you.
What tools are missing? We should be able to figure this out. Pliers in the wrong spot. No. It's a good tool board. You can tell what's
tool board. Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm right. Wait.
Oh, you solved the puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
There you go. Whew.
I was
sorry
really
about that.
Bonus
messed up
points
there
if you
for a
can
second.
figure out what this is for.
Oh, that is magnificent.
We have no idea.
That's from one of our friend gangs in Chicago. That's called Rat Patrol. They're a similar gang to us, except they gave this to us as a gift.
So I actually collect weird sea wrenches. Not that I want to collect this because it's a work of art, but one of the ones I found has a sea wrench on one side and a bottle opener on the other.
Yep.
And it's military for medical rations. It was for opening medical stuff. There's nothing that you can't put a sea wrench on. That's magnificent. I love that it's drawn out too.
Yeah. Well, you got to know.
You gotta know where it goes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. See. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adam, this is the Grand Admiral of Skull, Skunk.
Hello, how are you? Nice
Welcome
to meet
to
you.
the Skunkadeliia Robot Orphanage. And
Oh,
Let me just get out of the way.
may I enter the
Yes, please
sanctum?
do. Yeah.
Oh, they're so sweet.
Yeah, I love my babies. They're very, very precious to me.
I haven't seen many female robots.
They're harder to make. Take longer.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we kind of run the gamut. We have kind of very masculine, very feminine, and somewhere in the middle. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
so some of them are articulated. Right?
Some of them
Yeah.
are articulated?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
think
a lot of them have
Adriana
moving
can-
heads, so you can kind of get a body language pose,
Yeah,
so you can
yeah.
get kind of a sideways glance.
Ooh.
Some of them that I make are fully articulated with ball and socket joints. I don't have any of those with me, but I've got little ragdoll ones.
Oh my
These are kind of the
goodness.
drunken robots because
Yeah.
they can't stand up on their own, which is
Right.
kind of a funny idea.
You could also make them dance on a board like that.
Or
yeah.
a marionette or something.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is the newest one.
My God, Vanessa is amazing.
Yeah, she's a substantial woman. Yeah, I think she weighs probably about 15 pounds or so. I think that the tap drill bits add up pretty quickly. Yeah. Yeah, so the idea is that these live for hundreds and hundreds of years and see how long they can kind of spread out into the world and have their own adventures. So, yeah.
And did you do the painting of Vanessa too?
I did, and I don't usually paint, so it was a very nice thing to try some 2D stuff, and I've been just making so many robots that it's very rare that I go back to 2D stuff, but I found it very gratifying.
It's
They have so much
beautiful.
personality that it's like it's wonderful to try to capture that, you know.
They really do. Adriana's also gorgeous.
Yeah, she's a lovely one. She's one of the babies. So she's number 307 out of 313 that I've made, and I've been documenting every one online.
Really?
So you can see the evolution of the species as I kind of evolve as an artist. Yeah.
Can we see a little behind the scenes?
Oh,
What is it to
behind the
be
curtain.
a found object?
So if you notice,
robot
everything is
sculptor?
above ground level here,
yeah.
and that's because since I'm a junk metal sculptor, I work with very heavy materials,
Yeah.
and everyone else was going vertical here at the Asylum, but I was using the lower half as storage areas.
I
So I have
see.
the custom-made shelves that were CNC plasma cut right down the hallway with ammunition boxes,
Got it.
4-gallon pails, smaller containers, and it goes back. There's even a secret room back here that you can kind of hang out in if you need to be alone.
Nice.
But yeah, it's half of my work is just getting everything ready for that moment of creation. Yeah.
May I inspect?
Look at my drawers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Lots of
Guys.
beautiful objects. Anything a magnet sticks to, I can weld together. with
Piano pedals.
Yep.
There
Good
you
call.
go.
Good call. Yeah, it's fun trying to deconstruct each one of these robots to see, where all the little bits came from. My favorite drawer here is this one, because I can't fit another bolt in here. So my
That
rule
is-
is if I can't fit anything else, I got to part out some of the cheaper stuff. But
That is the loggiest log jam I've ever seen.
yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
These are absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
You know, this is a form I've seen a lot of over the years. I have not often seen it with so much delightful personality.
Yeah, I try to give them a lot of body language and a lot of expression. I think that a lot of it has to do with kind of the way they're posed, but a lot of it's in the eyes and a lot of it's in the hands. The way people hold their hands is really something that I find very interesting, and it gives a lot of expression.
Yeah,
I try to do that in my babies.
they're gorgeous.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you visiting.
Can I buy this one from you?
You bet.
I'm serious.
She's ready to go.
I want to buy her from you.
She's mostly housebroken. There's a little oil on you.
To be honest, it's the skirt full of half-inch 13 taps that got me.
And this is the last one that I can make out of these taps. I had a really good supply for a really long time.
Of inexpensive.
And I love these titanium nitride taps.
Yeah.
The guy signed an NDA, so I don't know what project he was working on, but he went through a lot of these, obviously.
Oh, so these are post him using them.
Yes, so they are a little messed up at the bottom.
Oh,
I always use
fascinating.
reused material.
Yeah.
And as a junk metal sculptor, to get a repeatable object like this,
Sure.
it's like gold. Yeah. But even though it's titanium nitride. Yeah. Yeah, she's even got a little grease port here, so if she gets rusty, you can just poke it in there.
And that's as it should be.
Yeah. Well, it will be an honor to have you have her in,
she
in
will
our
have
family.
a place of pride in my shop. This is
Awesome.
She's really magnificent.
Cool.
I
So
love
you can
her.
tell her birthday by the back here. She was born
Oh.
2017, April 22nd. She's a Mercury class, number 307.
Oh,
so you
wow,
can wish her
this
a
is
happy
very
birthday.
recent.
Yeah, she's very young. They fly out the door, which is good. You
This
know,
is beautiful.
it's a
Thank you.
pleasure.
And that really is magnificent.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That made my day.
You made my day.
Cool.
And Adriana's day.
All right, I'd like to introduce you to Gretchen Green.
Hi, Gretchen.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. These are beautiful.
Thank you.
What am I seeing?
So you're seeing hand plasma cut steel and bronze. This is a bronze piece, the more orange color, and most of what else, this is also bronze. The others in the studio are steel. So it starts as sheet or plate.
Yeah.
Back here, we have raw material.
Okay.
And so I take a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of steel and take it down to the welding booth, lay it out on a big acorn table, and start carving with lightning.
And may I approach?
Of course.
This is the intricacy here. This must take you hours and hours.
Yes, definitely.
Days and days,
And,
but
and
then-
that piece is sort of in process. You can see it's more complex
Yeah.
than the one to the left, but all three form a triptych, which in the original form were shown at Art Miami by Todd Merrill, a big New York dealer.
Oh, fabulous.
And now that was a couple years ago, and I'm updating it with the kind of more complex cutting that I'm doing in more current pieces. So this is a more recent piece, so this is going to look a little bit more like this one.
How is this also made by the plasma cutter?
Yeah, so the first step is any writing or drawing that I want to do.
Okay.
So steel, and it's also true of copper and bronze, those metals, as you heat them, they form oxides on the surface.
Right.
So with this torch, like you can see writing in the piece on the wall,
Yeah.
and you see some here. So one day I took a blank sheet and said, could I write? And so the first sheet I wrote became just scrap, but the second sheet went into a finished piece. And if I write as fast as I can,
Yeah.
then I can write poetry on a thin sheet and not write through. And so these are fragments of memories on a theme.
I love how this piece is picking up the blue light from across the way.
Yeah, I
that
like
it's
the interaction of
part of
Brandon's
its
work
environment.
I like the purple in particular. That's what I text.
Yeah. Oh, it is. I'm gobsmacked by how you might ship one of these. It's got to be a special problem.
The wall pieces turn out to be one of the easiest problems.
Really?
So once you've figured out how to mount a wall piece on the wall,
You've solved the problem.
you've solved
of how to
exactly.
I got it. Sure,
right?
sure.
So you then just need to strap it down a little bit and put a little bit of packing where some pieces might, wiggle and hit each other.
yeah.
But knowing that I'm going to ship them, I tend to make them a little bit more constrained than if it was something I thought I'd never have to move. So if it wiggles too much, I know it'll clang around in transportation.
So are there natural formations that you come across that you look at and you think, oh, wow, that really kind of inspires me to start cutting steel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most recently, rock formations
Yeah.
in Santorini in Greece. I was just there a couple of weeks ago. And they have these cliffs that have these big undercuts and holes. It's kind of an aggregate sandstone. But similar sorts of formations in the Las Vegas area
Oh,
that I've
really?
seen recently this winter. So rocks with holes in them, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
again and again in my work, ocean, whether it's the water itself or
Right.
somewhere at the shoreline. I mean, the number one tool I use by far is the handheld plasma cutter,
Yeah.
and then the welders. But I have incorporated some cast pieces to have I can do more on the surface itself.
Sure, sure. It's beautiful. Thank you for showing me. It's
All
really
right.
a pleasure
Great to meet
talk
you.
to
So Adam, this is Bevan and Dan of the New American Public Art.
Hello, guys.
Hi, how's it going?
Very good.
Good. How's your tour been so far?
It's super inspiring. It's like, it's sort of a tease to go through a space like this
Yeah.
and not get my hands dirty.
Well,
It makes
we'll
me
find
want to
something for you
be.
to do.
I was in my shop yesterday, so I was lucky.
We've got some bearings and grease and stuff. if
I
want.
might. I see 3D printing happening here. So tell me what's going on with this. What is this?
So we're making a very large interactive public art project for Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And this will essentially be 2 giant owls that can be clandestinely controlled to follow people around, to stare people down.
Wow.
And so,
Rotate their heads.
right, and so we're using a fairly interesting mechanism. As you can see, we do this utilizing modern fabrication techniques. Yes, we could have just made giant bronze owls, but we really want to utilize all the CNC fabrication techniques that we've sort of come to know and love in these makerspaces.
Like hanging sheets on disco balls and things like that.
Right.
That's our ghost owl, just meant to represent the rough size. This is
I
obviously
see.
our prototype here.
Right.
So we're trying to get a feel of how this thing's actually going to interact and feel in public. We've built a number of large-scale sculptures and realized that, putting things inside versus outside is a big difference.
Sure.
And getting the feel and ergonomics and user effects are important right off the bat. So
what I'm seeing here is that's
like
clearly an owl head, but this part here is this part. Is that correct?
That's a simulator for the bench. If you want to hold that
Okay.
for a second. So we've got these connected with 2 little Lego motors
Yeah.
and no electricity.
Yeah.
So if I rotate mine,
Ooh.
yours kind of spins.
Yeah.
If you rotate yours, mine kind of spins. If you go fast, there you go.
How,
So
it's just because of the power?
yeah, just generating
Wow.
current as those motors go with the right gear ratio.
Amazing.
So this was the little mechanism that made us curious to develop this into a big piece of sculpture
So you're going to try and do the same thing?
with big DC gear motors.
Ah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
big car motors or something? Or
Some electric motors. We've got a little sample for this size prototype right over here. So just a little guy for now.
okay.
But basically, and we're still working out all the mechanics and all that, this is the wheel that spins,
Yeah.
similar to that little gear we just did. And if I go fast enough,
Whoa!
then we drive enough current through here to make this go.
Wow.
So this is what's going to be driving the shaft that makes the owl's head rotate. So maybe you guys can't see this quite on camera. Here's a little rendering of what the whole things are going to look like. One possible variation when they're all done. So you can see they're made out of those different striated layers that Dan mentioned. We're using,
Right.
5-axis water jet to cut all the facets of those parts.
Yeah.
And they're going to be close enough in the plaza that people can see them together, but that they might get a little freaked out when an owl head just sort of turns and looks at you.
I'm curious about how much copper you need between the two to get the proper transfer of electricity.
We're
It
kind of
makes a
curious about
difference,
that
doesn't
too.
it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you running like big giant bus bars between them?
We're probably not going to have a huge pipe. We're still figuring out, some of the calculations for the
Yeah.
full scale one. We have a little motto, which Dan is very fond of.
To build is to know.
Who can know before one builds?
You can make all the designs you want and do all the calculations, but when you sit down with it and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel right, or this is too hard, or a kid won't be able to do this, and then you're
Right.
like, I want this is going to be in public. We need kids to be able to do this. We need to
yeah.
and everything sort of comes to light after you build it, which is why we take all this. We make everything out of plywood and we make everything
Right.
at full scale as much as possible.
So then what you're saying means to me that the final result, which will be weatherproof,
Absolutely.
that you're going to try and keep the mass of the wheel that turns low so
Correct.
that anybody can operate it, but it still has to move a fair bit of, there's a lot going,
Absolutely.
it's the whole balancing act,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's a very interesting engineering and electrical challenge. So like the gear motors are sort of geared up 64-to-1 system, and
Right,
you can see like there's all these teeth here, and we try to make all the pieces modular. So it's like, yes, we could water jet out a huge stainless steel gear,
Yeah.
but what if it breaks? Then you need to water jet out another huge stainless steel gear, or we can just do these tiny modular elements that we can replace each one if one wears down.
Sure. Oh, that really is smart. And you're using chain sections.
Absolutely right. So there's a lot of ways of transferring power, but we felt this was a nice modular way to connect.
And it's rather than a pressure wheel, a pressure wheel would be adding resistance to the ring, making it harder to turn.
Right. The other thing about this project, which we should mention because we're super excited about it with the maker community, is that we convinced the city of Austin, who's funding it, to make the contract and all of the stuff we're making, let us open source it. We're very non-proprietary about all the stuff we do. So all these 3D models and even the large components that we design, we're going to put up with a CC license so that people can understand it.
Yeah.
We do a lot of this kind of sculpture and get frustrated that a lot of it's a black box.
Yeah.
And so part of building public sculpture is making the whole thing public, including the knowledge base for it.
That's great.
So yeah, that's another thing that we're very jazzed about.
So how are you is that ring, those turning ring, gonna sit atop little replaceable bearings?
Yep. Yes. So this is a module of the once again wooden prototype.
I see.
So we've got all these transfer bearings underneath, which we can pop out and replace.
Yeah, easy to replace. That it doesn't have to be pressure fit in order to still hold it at a reasonable orientation.
Correct. Yeah, and we've got them equally spaced around the wheel, and the way they're adjustable right now is with some shims and bolts, so that we can really fine tune it to the imperfections of the wheel when they inevitably occur. And then just either replace this whole bearing situation and slide another whole assembly in there, or replace individual parts.
Oh, that's really nifty.
This is basically, we're going to do a sort of reverse IKEA
right,
design that we hand off to people like, here are the 7,000 parts, here's where you can buy them.
But it's all modular, so you can say, here's the CAD files. If we died and you have to keep this running 100 years from now, it's all...
In an ideal world, because this is going to be an open source project, that somebody will take it up in 20 years and be like, you know what, we want a different thing, and they'll be able to take it apart and put in their pieces because all the designs will be open.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's beautiful.
Thanks so much, guys.
Hey,
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much.
Really nice to meet you.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you.
you.
Derek, I feel like I could spend a couple of weeks here and not even scratch the surface of how many amazing projects are going on in this space.
That would not be that hard. There's a lot going on. Everybody who's doing something, and everybody's bringing their own magic, so it's plenty to see and do.
It's so inspiring. It's such an honor. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the tour.
We're so glad you could come by.